I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Very good. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityan Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Chaitamudirate Nashtaprayashu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishtakim. So we'll go to Veda base. Let me switch over to Veda base. Bear with me for a minute, please. Okay, here's Veda base. Share my screen. Can you see the Veda base screen?
No, Prabhuji. We are still seeing your
Oh, okay.
blue screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did the wrong. It's come up now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we'll read the Sanskrit Sloka and then, Prabhu's Mataji's, you all can also repeat it. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, please repeat.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha.
Antate kathayishyami
Andade kadayishyami.
divya hi atma vibhutayah
Divyahi Atma Vibhutayaha.
pradhanyattah kuru shrestha
Pradhyanyataha Kurusreshta.
nasti anto vistarasya me.
Nasti Ando Vistaras.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Sri Bhagavan Vacha.
Antate kathayasyami
Andade kadayishyami.
divya hayatma vibhuttayah
Divyahi Atma Vibhutayaha.
pradhanyatah kuru shrestha
Pradhanyataha Kurusreshta.
nasti anto vistarasya me.
Nasti Ando Vistarasya me.
Now I'll read out the whole text and then after that maybe Prabhu's Mataji's, if you would like to repeat it, will be very nice. Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Yeah.
I'll read out the whole text and then, Prabhu's Mataji's, if you can please do it. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Antate katyashyami divya hi atma vibhuttayah pradhanyatah kuru shrestha nasti anto vistarasya me. Any Prabhu Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Hantate Kadhayisyami Divyahi Atma Vibhutaya Pradhanyata Kuru Srestha Nasti Anto Vistarasya Me.
Very good, Srinivas Prabhu. Anybody else?
I'll try, okay. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Antate Kathayisyami Divya hi Atma Vibhuttaya Pradhanyata Kuru Shrestha Nasti Anto Vistaryasya Me.
Very good, Savita. Anybody else?
Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Andade kadayishyami. Divyahi Atma Vibhudayaha. Pradhanyadaha Kurusreshta. नास्ति यन्दो विस्तरस्य मे.
Very nice, Shumeshwar Prabhu. So we'll read the synonyms, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Hanta, yes, te, unto you. Kathayishyami, I shall speak. Divyaha, divine. He, certainly. Atma Vibhutayaha, personal opulences. Pradhanyataha, which are principal. Kuru Shreshta, O best of the Kurus. Nasti, there is not. Anta, limit. Vistarasya, to the extent. May, my. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Yes, I will tell you my splendorous manifestations, but only those which are prominent. O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. Purport. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulence. I'll read this again. Please keep this in mind. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulence. The senses of the individual soul are limited and do not permit him to understand the totality of Krishna's affairs. Still, the devotees try to understand Krishna, but not on the principle that they will be able to understand Krishna fully at any specific time or in any state of life. Rather, the very topics of Krishna are so relishable that they appear to the devotee as nectar. Thus, the devotees enjoy them. In discussing Krishna's opulences and his diverse energies, the pure devotees take transcendental pleasure. Therefore, they want to hear and discuss them. Krishna knows that living entities do not understand the extent of his opulence. He therefore agrees to state only the principal manifestations of his different energies. The word pradhanyataha, principle, is very important because we can understand only a few of the principal details of the Supreme Lord, for his features are unlimited. It is not possible to understand them all. And Vibhuti, as used in this verse, refers to the opulences by which he controls the whole manifestation. In the Amarakosha dictionary, it is stated that Vibhuti indicates an exceptional opulence. The impersonalist or pantheist cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord, nor the manifestations of his divine energies. Both in the material world and in the spiritual world, his energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. So it's a very important point. Both in the material world and in the spiritual world, his energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. Now, Krishna is describing what can be directly perceived by the common man, and thus part of his variegated energy is described in this way. We'll say the Mangala Charan prayers. If you'd like to join, please join in. Om Agnyantimirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Vrishnabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedant Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedant Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshunyavati Paschatyate Shatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you everybody for joining. Your time you've taken, and there are so many who join regularly. Some have started joining recently. Doesn't matter whether you've been here for a long time or today is your first day. The important thing is participation. And why participation is important? Because it helps us in accomplishing a few things. So we can start, there's always a start to doing something. And what we're doing today is a systematic study of Bhagavad Gita. This started some time back. So today we are on chapter 10, verse 19. And systematically, Mondays to Fridays, Simeshwar Prabhu has started this very nice Sangha where devotees come, we get together. There will be a speaker who will then talk about a particular verse, and then we understand, we get understanding, and then there are question and answers and how we could implement it if some points are not clarified. So this is how the entire systematic study of Bhagavad Gita goes on. So for today, the topic is 10.19. Chapter 10 is the opulence of the absolute. Section, there are 4 sections in chapter 10. So we're on the final section, Krishna's opulence. And then text 19, Krishna gives a partial list of unlimited opulences, only the prominent ones. We just read Srila Prabhupada's explanation, the purport over here. So today we'll get into a little depth of what this is. We'll see how everything connects from chapter 9, chapter 10, have an overview of these 4 sections, and then specifically chapter 19. There is a very famous president, you all are aware, President John Kennedy. At a very young age, he achieved a lot of success. So in a magazine, I think it was Life magazine, he was asked, what do you attribute your success to? So he says that I jump at every opportunity. That's what I attribute my success to. So wherever there's an opportunity, I jump at it. So the reporter asked him, but how do you know that when an opportunity comes? So he says, I don't, but I'm jumping all the time. So whenever an opportunity is there, it won't just pass me. I will jump on it. And I was just thinking on this particular attitude and how it applies to our sadhana. So sadhana is not something we get up in the morning and do 16 rounds, complete our quota and our commitment to Guru Maharaj, or we are cooking bhoga, eating prasadam. Yes, all that is sadhana. But sadhana is every moment, awake or sleeping. So as long as the consciousness is jumping all the time, and how we make a conscious jumping all the time is by thinking of Krishna, remembering Krishna. And this particular chapter and this particular verse number 19, is something which will show us how we are always jumping at every opportunity for Krishna. So the learning focus is connection between 9 and 10. Then, as I told you, the 4 sections we'll cover in brief. section 4 in little bit detail Krishna's opulences and how we can connect it. What's the practical application? And then finally, how we understand. What is the method in which we understand Krishna's opulences? So some key terms to keep in mind. Opulence, the dictionary says, is something which is in abundance, something that has worth. And then also another point keep in mind is absolute, complete and totality. All of us have opulences, even the pauper. Usually we think opulence means wealth. Yes, wealth is one of the opulences, but opulence is anything which is there in abundance. And now all of us have something which is in relative scale, but Krishna has these opulences in absolute. Absolute means complete, totality. It's not relative, full, complete. In fact, he's the source of everything. Opulence is also. And these opulences, as we know, is in 6 categories, main categories: wealth, renunciation, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, correct? And because he has these opulences, he's the source of everything. He's a proprietor. Because he's a proprietor, he has full control over everything. And a person who controls and owns everything, there's nothing left for him to do except enjoy. This is Dhanurdhar Maharaj many years ago in one of the classes. He had given this realization. So what's the connection between 9 and 10? Krishna ends chapter 9 by fix your mind upon me. This is a very famous verse, right? Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Always think of me, become my devotee. Who is a devotee? Devotee is not just part-time attraction. Devotee, or the word devotion, means full-fledged, full focus. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me. Such a simple 3-4 words, but see what it means. How we offer obeisances. Obeisances, basically, we are submitting ourselves to the Lord. Obeisance, of course, is also a gesture. You could do Dandvat full, or you do. But what is it? You're basically acknowledging that you're superior to I am. Correct? What are we surrendering? We're surrendering a false ego. It's not me who's the Ishvara. I accept you. I submit to you. Become completely absorbed in me. So once we start thinking of Krishna, we are fully focused on Krishna. We submit ourselves to Krishna. We become completely absorbed in Krishna. Krishna, 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 Krishna. That's it. There's only Krishna. Such a situation, you will surely come to me. This is Krishna's guarantee in this verse 934. So what chapter 10 does is it describes his opulences on basis of which we can fix our mind. Remember, I told you jump at every opportunity. So here is how it is teaching us to jump at every opportunity. And when we see him, we remember how opulent, powerful, anything that we see around us can remind us of Krishna. Literally anything and everything. So we'll cover how we do that in the conclusion. So conclusion of 9 is become a pure devotee of Krishna. And 10, chapter 10, will increase our devotion by hearing more about Krishna's opulences. Naturally, opulences are very attractive. You see famous people, Bollywood stars, Hollywood stars, sports stars. They're so much famous there. So naturally, it's very attractive. When they're there in public, everyone runs towards them, wants to take selfie. Before selfies came, there used to be autographs, if you remember. Whatever it is, see wealth, how it attracts. The richest person in the world, I don't know who it is now, whether it is Mr. Bezos or Mr. Elon Musk, richest person. We know of them. They don't know of us. We know of them, but we are so attracted. We want to be like them. So what this is that it talks about the opulences so that when someone is on the path of spirituality, it attracts us to Krishna. So this is the connection between 9 and 10. So now let's look at the overview of chapter 10. It is in 4 sections, as I mentioned you. The first one is understanding Krishna's unknowability. You can't know Krishna. It's impossible to know Krishna. No one can know Krishna. Okay? When there is such a vast, it's only that we serve him. Right? So when we understand Krishna's unknowability, we automatically serve him. Then the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita is in these 4 verses called the Chatur Shloki. It is canned, or it is summarized in the opulence's position as source of all. Krishna is the source of everything. Everything. If you ask, and see around yourself, you start finding out, oh, this is such a beautiful flower. Where does it come from? It comes from this tree. Where does this tree come from? It comes from the seed. Where did the seed come from? So you start questioning and you go backward, backward, backward. It will finally come to source of all, sarva karana karanam, the sourceless, the causeless cause of all causes. That, okay, eagerness. The second is when we know this, then the devotee is so enthusiastic to love and serve him, and then how he reciprocates. So this is the entire summation of Bhagavad Gita. Then section 3, what it talks about is Arjuna accepts Krishna's position. So he says yes. So here Arjuna is submitting to Krishna. So if we really need to understand Krishna's opulence deep within, in our heart, and not just intellectually or philosophically or even logic or whatever, not the function of the mind and intellect, but actually to feel it, we need to submit ourselves. That's when his mercy will come. His mercy is unlimited. Unlimited. It's only through his mercy that we can realize him, not through our own endeavor. You can't realize him through your own endeavor. Bhakti is the only way to realize him. There are many paths, but bhakti is the only way that we can understand him. A fraction of him, please keep that in mind. No other endeavor. And his mercy. So for that mercy to come and for that mercy for us to be able to handle that mercy, humility is the only way. So just look at mercy as an unending flow. And mercy is that container which doesn't have any bottom, and it's the only thing which can hold mercy. Otherwise, everything will just bounce off and go, nothing will be retained. So he submits, and then he says, I want to hear more. So Arjuna first confirms with previous authorities, like sage Narada. They say, yes, they accept Krishna. Ishwar Parama Krishna, right? His own, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he prays to him, tell me your glory so that I can always be remembering you. Always remember Krishna, never forget him. These two instructions. And once we do this, Krishna's fraction, little bit, we get to know. Otherwise, he remains unknowable. Then it's just all this in the intellect. And then finally, section 4, he describes his most prominent among limitless. He's limitless. I mean, there are so many opulences we can't even think. For convenience sake, we put it in the 6 categories of wealth, fame, renunciation, strength. For our sake, but he has, it's countless, his opulences. And then even amongst that, he picks only prominent ones in such a manner that we'd be able to correlate. It's like this, I'll think of Krishna. I see this, I'll think of Krishna. Amongst animals, I'm the lion.
Hare Krishna,
The most
Prabhuji.
prominent. Hare Krishna.
Good, yes, it was waiting for host to start the meeting.
Sorry. Oh, I think Simeshwar Prabhu may be on another meeting. Sorry. So he talks about his most prominent ones, and that is so that we'd be able to make reference to. And as I said earlier, every waking and sleeping moment, we could be reminded of Krishna. So we think ordinary things, mundane things, but there is so much beauty in it. There's so much wonder in it. And you see a child is always so curious and they're so amazed. Little things. Why? Because they're seeing things. They're understanding, they're conscious of it. And the same way as adults, because we have been conditioned, we just pass by things without. So if you see that, just observe it, notice it, then we can see Krishna's hand in everything. So this is the overview of chapter 10. Okay, then let's understand section 4, which talks specifically about Krishna's opulences. So Krishna, people say, show me God. So of course, we can see God, Shakshat. We can see Krishna actually, like how you probably are in your living room and your relative is next to you and how you're seeing with your senses. But what happens is that our senses currently are material senses. We have to spiritualize this. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So, with eyes anointed with love, when that happens, love for Krishna happens, then we are able to see Krishna. Of course, till such time, another aspect of his mercy is he comes in his form of a deity. So when we see the deities are not material. They see us too. So that's how our consciousness develops, and that's how that eyes anointed with love happens. So Krishna's opulence is visible through the manifestations of his energy in this world. So how he presents his glories. And he says that amongst all these things, he's the topmost. So there are many. So if you start reading chapter 10, he has given many references to context, many examples. Among Vedas, he's Samaveda. Amongst all the logicians, he is the truth. He is time, he is death. Who amongst us is not familiar with death? We've lost our loved ones. We've lost so many people to COVID. So many people, as we speak, are dying in Ukraine. So another nice one, spiritual science. Amongst all the sciences, he is spiritual science of the self, the topmost. So these are all the topmost of all the vibrations, Om, of all the waters, ocean. So like this, he gives many examples. And these examples, the sole purpose of these examples is so that we would be able to connect and start seeing Krishna, start remembering Krishna, think of Krishna. And when everywhere that our senses are all the time active, we see Krishna. And that brings us back to him. Correct? But then finally, Krishna ends this chapter by one, what is the need, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? Just with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. This entire universe, just with one tiny speck. So just think about Krishna. It's like we can't even comprehend that. So this is the summary of Krishna's opulence, section 4, and how we can apply the practical application. Now, how to understand Krishna's opulences? He is unlimited. How can we know him? We are limited. He is unlimited. How will we know him? Then the question is, naturally, why bother understanding Krishna? Anyway, it's a lost cause. With this tiny little mind of our mind, what can I understand the infinite? Not possible. So the whole basis in which we try and understand and these opulences of Krishna is not with the attitude that one day, or sometime in the future, or if, I do this, I do that. It's not causal. We don't go with that attitude. Rather, the topic is so relishable that it's almost like we are tasting nectar. Of course, initially it may not be so attractive to us, like Prabhupada says, jaundice. In jaundice, even when we take sugarcane juice is so sweet, it appears bitter because of our conditioning, but actually it is sweet. So that taste starts developing, we start relishing that sweetness. How do we know taste is developing? We know taste is developing when we want to participate, to hear. So even if you have heard something and you hear something again, there'll always be something new that we will understand and realization some speaker has given, and that becomes relishable. So this is the methodology, if I may, of how we understand Krishna. Then the word pradhanyataha, principle. So he knows that we are limited. So what Krishna does is, he only states the main manifestations of his different energies, something that we can correlate to, we can map to. Otherwise, if he starts talking something which is, we won't even know. When we say animals, we all know, animals. Lion, we all know lion. Things that don't move, we know there are huge things that don't move. I'm Himalaya. So he just talks about the principal manifestation. The other word is vibhuti. That is something which he controls the entire manifestation, the entire creation. It's the exceptional. And all this, which is exceptional in itself, is but a fragment of who he is. So that is Krishna. So, here are some ways of how in our day-to-day lives, we can always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. First thing is be aware of our surroundings. We are not really aware of our surroundings. We are just kind of, on our way to work or whatever it is. We know I have to get to office on time. This is the path I take. This is what I do. This time train, whatever it is. And we just go through the motions. So when I make a conscious effort to see Krishna's hand, then a small little pebble or a stone, which is on the railway track, we'd be able to map it and see Krishna's hand in it. And make a conscious effort. It won't just happen automatically. And whenever we see that, we should be very appreciative and grateful. That is where we submit this I am an Ishwar. Gratitude, that attitude of gratitude. Humility expresses itself through gratitude. Talk to Krishna. We always pray, and we pray like, do this for me, do that for me, which is fine. After all, he is the source of everything. But talk to him. He's the supreme personality. Krishna is a person. He's not just abstract. We are talking about his energies, but he's the energetic Shaktiman. So talk to him. Treat him like a person. It's not just only at the time of bhoga we are doing and offering bhoga. Like, Krishna, please accept this. Why can't we talk to Krishna? Talk to him about your darkest fears. Talk to him about what makes you happy. When you're confused, talk to him. The Bible says, seek and thou shalt receive. Are we seeking? What are we seeking? If at all we are seeking is only something which will make me happy. Start treating Krishna like a person. It's a whole personal thing. Prabhu had said, right? Bushara Prabhu, love. It's Prabhupada's disciple who comes to our community, ICNJ, Sunday programs. As Prabhuji, he joined ISKCON in 72 or quite some time back. So as Prabhuji, what was life like before ISKCON? And now you've been ISKCON for such a long time, Hare Krishna. He gave a very simple but such a deep answer. He says, before I was a black man. A black body he had, African American. Before I was a black man, after Prabhupada and Hare Krishna, now I'm a spirit soul. I've realized I'm a spirit soul, and because I'm a spirit soul, I see everybody else as a spirit soul. And as I see everybody else as a spirit soul, I can only love them. To love and be loved. These are just two things my Guru Maharaj says that a living entity needs. So seek and we shall receive. So this Prabhu's Mataji's is today's class. If anyone has any questions or any comment or realization, any corrections, if I have gone wrong somewhere, please participate. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Bol Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhupada.
Prabhuji very nicely presented. I cannot thank enough and appreciate the subject matter that we always try to discuss and come together and practice and participate. Every time I just have one question to reinforce my understanding again and again.
Yeah.
Is that how we said that before coming to the process and getting introduced to ISKCON and the movement, we were just some living beings, going about our lives. But after Prabhupada, we came into the movement and became Hare Krishnas, and eventually led to think that we are the spirit souls. So just wanted to get more clarification on how can we reinforce that every single moment of our day.
As Mataji, if you see this earlier, give me a minute. We need to make a conscious effort. Currently, we are fully absorbed in ourselves. I, me, myself, mine. And if at all I see something, I will look at it as how is it going to be my gain, or is it a threat to me? That's all I'm looking at, anything around me. So even if I see a beautiful flower, that flower, I will look at it, how beautiful. It just pleased some, my senses, nice fragrance, or, oh, it looks so beautiful. So I'm the one. It's always me. But that same flower, if I look at it and I see this creation, who made it? How did the shape come? Where did this fragrance come from? All this, then I start seeing Krishna behind it. So to understand that I'm a spirit soul requires practice. We are spirit souls, but because of our conditioning of I, me, myself, we are covered by this, what we call a false ego. That's how our spiritual senses awaken. We have our senses. So there are these gross senses. Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj was explaining in one of his class, we have these 5 gross senses. Then there are senses of the mind. And there are senses of the spirit soul. So when the spirit soul hears katha about Krishna, it's awakened. When we eat prasadam, the spirit soul sense of taste is awakened. When we talk, the spirit soul speech is awakened. When we smell the prasadam, when it's offered to the deities, the Mahaprasad, and we take that and we smell it. So like this, similarly, that's why I always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. How will we remember Krishna? As I gave you that example, we need to be jumping at every opportunity. But today we can't jump. We are so lethargic. Our conditioning has made us lazy people. We're just sitting on the couch. So what you do is make an effort, conscious effort. So when you see, look at the things around in your house. Light. I'm right now seeing my light in front of me. This, whatever, lampshade. It's giving light. Krishna says, amongst all the light, I'm the sun. So tomorrow when I walk out into the sun, of course, Surya Dev is the predominating deity. That's one of his roles Krishna has assigned him to play. So when I go out in the sun, that can remind me of Krishna. When I'm walking, that reminds me of Krishna. How? Many years ago, my wife and I and my son was very small. We went to Grand Canyon. Beautiful place. And the first sight that you get to Grand Canyon, or I forget, North Rim or South Rim, one of them. It was so wonderful. It's like such huge rocks and canyon with different shades, as though someone has taken a piece of paper and crumpled it and opened it out. How is this possible? This beauty of nature, from where has it come? It just happened. It takes your breath away. And I told Savita, I remember telling, I said, bring any atheist to this viewpoint and, ask them to explain, where does this wonderful thing come from? But you don't have to go to Grand Canyon. Sitting in your living room, you can see Krishna's hand in everything. So once we are aware, when we make a conscious effort, is we try to jump. And the more and more we do it, we jump higher and higher, up and down, and constantly. And then that's how that realization comes. Right now, it's an intellectual realization. I'm not the body, I'm the soul. And we have all the reasons. It seems reasonable. Someone dies. Oh, he has gone away. Who's gone away? The body is here only. Who's that he? So there are many examples which are all intellectual. So yes, Mataji, if we do it through practice, conscious effort, it will happen. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu Dhanasana.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Haribol? Okay, so if no one has any questions, we can bring it to a close. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simeshwar Prabhu.
Thank you, Amritananada Prabhuji. It was a wonderful class, wonderful presentation. Lots of wonderful realizations. Especially today is a very auspicious day of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, his appearance day. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj is the spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj is identified the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Navadvip. And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur saw that the golden avatar and the Lord. And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur wanted to build a temple there. And how to confirm? And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was magistrate at that time. How to confirm that, the actual birthplace. So only way to confirm that, because of when a pure devotee goes there, and pure devotee can understand and realize. That time Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was the oldest, the devotee sangha, the devotee community. Very powerful soul, very powerful soul. Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj had 120 years that time, 120 years. Hardly, can open our eyes, hardly can stand up, always sitting. And this Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, this servant, the disciple, is always carrying Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj on the shoulder. Even when Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was in Vrindavan, from there, the disciples are holding on the shoulder and coming to Vrindavan. So wonderful pastimes we go with Sri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. It's very, very exalted. So then Bhakti Vinod Thakur approached Sri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj that this is my plan. We need to. So that Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was not even not so healthy that to go there, and then somebody carried, and as soon as there was some indication that the place, in order to find the place, and Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was passing through this place, and Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj couldn't even stand up properly, even open his eyes, nothing. But the place where it's reached, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj jumping up and down. Can you imagine? Jumping up and down, Gaura, Gaura, Gaura. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur asked, is this the place of Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared? Yes, this is the place. And then finally there was some lot of research, and then ultimately found out that this is the place because of the name tree and other things, and the all the geographical positions. So it's very, very wonderful that the pastimes. One time one family came to test Srila Jagannath Das Maharaj, and it's everywhere very well known that Srila Jagannath Das Maharaj do the miracles. So one family came to test Maharaj, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. they wanted to test in such a way that, what is coming out from Babaji Maharaj. So Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj understood their intention, wanted to test. At the same time, Maharaj didn't want to disappoint them as well. So Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj all on a sudden got into trance and uttered these words that remove this all ships, remove all the ships, send away all the ships, throw away all the ships. And this family asked, Maharaj, what are you saying? Saying that, the gods came to my garden in Vrindavan. Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was living in Vrindavan that time. And the gods came and ate all the tulasi, plants were there, and they came and ate the tulasi leaves and the branches. And then Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj saying that, send them away, and likes that. So this family got, what Maharaj is saying. Maharaj is sitting here. How Maharaj knew that, the gods came there and destroying all the tulasi plants. So he immediately, this family had a friend over there in Vrindavan, the same ashram. And he immediately, tried to contact and explain all this incident happened. So then after 2-3 days, they got a reply back that yes, this is the time, and they were there. This person was there in Vrindavan, that the shapes and the gods came and they tried to, try to eat the plants. And it's exactly the moment Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj got that vision. So the devotees, this is very great, pastimes of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, spiritual master. Yeah. So wonderful. And also Rasikananda Prabhu's, Rasikananda Goswami's disappearance day as well. Who know? Rasikananda Das, Rasikananda Prabhu, the disciple of Sri Shyamananda Pandit. Even an elephant was charging to attack Rasikananda Prabhu, but the power of Rasikananda Prabhu, elephant even couldn't move. It's the power of devotion. It is there. There is a book called Rasikananda, and it's so wonderful too. And Rasikananda Prabhu took the service of Shyamananda Pandit to distribute books and throughout the Bengal and Orissa, and after, along with Srinivasa Acharya, then Shyamananda Pandit left after Rasikananda took this charge, and even Bengal, and so wonderful. Thank you. Anything else, Prabhuji? Anybody else wanted to share? Okay. So if nothing else, Narada Prabhu, then thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for
Thank
wonderful
you.
class. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarupasya
Patitanam
Vaishnavebhyo
Pavanebhyo
namo
Vaishnavebhyo
namaha.
Namo Namaha.
Gandhara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila
Jai,
Prabhupada ki
Jai,
the Gaudiya Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Gaur
Jai.
Premanande Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari Bo. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Amrutanda Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.